Hello, and welcome to Delta Source, your number one source for giant pet slugs. This time we're talking about the Clone Wars Episode 8, discussing how the quote at the start of the episode relates to the episode contents. I'm Mr. Legitimacy. We've got Good Call Paul here. Let's
Right.
have some discussion.
Let's have some discussion. We got our first Jar Jar episode, boys. Hit the air horn.
Woo!
Yeah. We need a soundboard, but for now, though, we'll just do it a cappella.
We
all
got
right,
Bombad Jedi.
Yes, Bombad Jedi.
So let's get our
yeah.
quote up there.
Let's do that.
The heroes are made by the times. How
I would
philosophical.
say, I was gonna say, I think this one is true, like, on a number of levels, and not just as relates to the episode, but as relates
Right.
to like life in general.
Yes.
You know.
So let's read out our episode description. On a diplomatic mission to Rhodia, Padme discovers that her old friend and fellow Republic senator, Onaconda Farr, has allied his planet with separatists. In exchange for food and resources for his people, Onaconda captures Padme and promises to deliver her to Nute Gunray. Sensing Padme is in trouble. Jar Jar Binks disguises himself as a Jedi, and with the help of C-3PO, courageously fights to rescue his friend and fellow senator. That
That's
was a
right.
long
Jar
one.
Jar senses he might be a Jedi himself.
Oh my.
Actually, funny story about that. Apparently, there was an earlier draft of this episode that was supposed to have Quinlan Vos appear,
Oh.
who is, for those who don't know, a Jedi who was from a Legends comic series, actually from back in the early 2000s, that was brought into this show and brought into canon. He's actually mentioned in episode 3 as well. So
Yeah.
he's always been canon. But he was originally in a draft of this episode where he was working undercover using his Force powers to make Jar Jar look like a Jedi.
Oh.
Yeah, but apparently he was cut because they didn't have the budget to like make a whole new character model or the
Okay.
time to do that. So
Yeah.
that's why they didn't end up doing that. But yeah, there you go.
Interesting.
Just a little fun little trivia tidbit for you there.
Yeah. So, approaching this episode, I started out with a question: who is portrayed as a hero, and by whom? And related question: do you know the times? Yeah.
I think I know. It's about 5:30.
So, Paul, give me your thoughts on this one.
Well, yeah. So I would say that they're definitely the people with the producers of this episode were trying to kind of turn the Jar Jar thing on its head a little bit
Mm-hmm.
here, because he does seem to be the most like heroically kind of portrayed character in this episode. He's still goofy, he's still clumsy, and he's obviously still Jar Jar.
Mm-hmm.
But like at the same time, he is shown to be very he's kind of tricky, kind of good at improvisation, like very lucky
Yeah.
as well.
Very
and-
lucky.
Yeah, very lucky. And maybe a little bit smarter than people give him credit for. I don't know. It's kind of I really feel like they were trying to kind of flip the script and maybe subvert the audience's expectations a little bit here,
Oh, what
as
a
it were.
what
Not
a
to
rogue
use a
move.
yeah, I know it's risky business doing that. But it does feel again. Obviously, he's still Jar Jar, but
Yeah.
like he's the hero of this episode because he's the one who doesn't get captured. He's the one who ultimately does end up through his actions. The other characters, Padme gets rescued. She is only alive because Jar Jar saved her, basically, by the end of the episode. Which I feel like she's probably pretty. I don't know. She's not going to go tell him that to anybody too
I
soon.
have a couple
but-
of counterpoints.
Okay, fair enough.
First, as far as flipping the script on Jar Jar, recall that in episode 1 he had an impact in the Battle of Naboo by doing this exact same kind of stuff, just
You're
by
right, he
being
was
goofy and lucky.
Clumsy and knocked the tank out.
Yeah.
Yep. Fair enough.
My being clumsy. Second, I don't think Jar Jar was materially the most heroic, and also Padme got herself free before Jar Jar made it there to rescue her.
No, okay, fair point. Maybe I'm giving the Gungan a bit too much credit.
I appreciate the enthusiasm. It's good to. I think that's a better first instinct than just outright Jar Jar hate.
Yeah, I'm. You know what? I am. I'm part of the like. I don't know. I'm not gonna say I'm a Jar Jar stan because that's going a little bit far.
Maybe
But
a
I do
Jar
think,
Jar apologist.
yeah, I am. I'm because like I've seen episode one fairly recently.
Hmm.
Phantom Menace, that is not episode one of the show. Obviously, I've seen Phantom Menace fairly recently. Yes, Jar Jar is kind of annoying in it. I acknowledge that. However, people whose main complaint about Phantom Menace is, well, Jar Jar was in it and he's annoying. There's a lot of other issues with that movie beyond
Oh
like
yeah.
the inclusion of Jar Jar. You know, there's things with the plot, there's other issues with the acting and the writing. Not that I don't like Phantom Menace because it's a childhood, favorite of mine. And I have a hard time being objective about it, but like objectively
Yeah.
speaking, it's not that great a movie. But if your only issue with it, if the first thing you think of when someone asks you why don't you like episode one is, oh well, I didn't like Jar Jar, that just feels kind of basic to me.
Yeah. You're not
Like,
thinking
it's
hard
very
enough.
surface level. Yeah, like you didn't. Okay, sure, but what else did you not like about the movie?
Mhm.
You know, that not to get on a Jar Jar related tangent, but yeah, there you go.
I mean,
I'm a
this
Jar
is
Jar
the time for it.
apologist. This is exactly. It's a Jar Jar episode. For I'm not. I promise I won't bring him up. Well, unless he's in the next episode. Then
Yeah.
I might just.
So I think, with my framing it with the questions, I think obviously they were trying to refer to Jar Jar with the quote being the hero who's made by the Times. The Times are such that Padme is captured in a semi-aquatic environment, so Jar Jar does become uniquely suited to distracting the droids and hiding underwater,
Okay.
and
I
also
see what you
befriending that
mean.
giant slug that does save the day. Really, I think the giant slug gets most
Oh,
of the credit
Does
for the
more the
final
heavy hitting
save.
for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. No doubt. Yeah.
For a moment, Newt Gunray becomes a sort of hero to Rhodia because the times are of such
Yeah.
desperation while the citizens are starving, even though, later he's like, sorry, we'll have to put you in the queue. I don't think we can bring the aid in time.
Yeah.
3PO also gets to be a kind of hero. Whenever he gets stuck to the magnet, he has like a bird's eye view of the droid assault in the hangar, and he gets to advise Jar Jar on what to do.
Right. That is
Uh,
true. You're right.
yeah.
Yeah, everyone does kick in. It's not just Jar Jar's show.
Right.
Definitely not.
Although, I might watch a just Jar Jar show.
I would absolutely watch a just Jar Jar show. I don't even care what the genre is, man. Like it could be about him trying to become a rapper. Like I don't care. 8 Mile, but it's Jar Jar.
Misa name is Jar Jar, and I'm here to say. Oh wait, no, Misa here to say.
Misa here to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said better lose yourself.
Padme is pretty much always a hero in this episode, as in many others. So no matter
Generally
how the
speaking,
times
yes.
change, Padme's always heroic. And like I mentioned earlier, she got herself out before Jar Jar even made it there, because by the time he made it to the tower, she was already gone.
Yeah. No, that's fair. That's fair.
And she was off doing other stuff while Jar Jar was distracting him in a different direction. And then when the times change again, after Newt Gunray reveals his deception, the Republic becomes a sort of new hero for Rhodia because they're actually rolling in troops and they're gonna bring the supplies they need. Presumably, we don't obviously get to see the rest of the follow-up. Yeah. That's all I have for stuff related to the episode quote. Do you have any more thoughts on that?
I had a sort of a broader perspective on that, but I like what you said. I have thoughts relating more to the well, I'll just go with it. I'll stop bearing the lead here. The idea, I like what you did with the whole he's an aquatic alien and on an aquatic planet, he's got an advantage. I hadn't considered that, but you're right. If you're in a situation where you're perfectly suited to succeed, you might be more likely to succeed.
Yes.
I guess that does make sense.
If
my
you're more
thought
likely
was,
to succeed, you're more likely to succeed. This is true wisdom.
yes, objectively speaking, I know I'm fucking freaking hot take here. Tell you what, but when I thought of the times, I was thinking more generally, it's the Clone Wars. Obviously, it's the name of the show, and more generally speaking, the Republic has lived in 1,000 years of being relatively peaceful. I mean, there's not been a lot of opportunities to be heroic. You could be like a hero of your community or a hero of, you know, I don't know, finance or whatever. There's ways to be a hero that are not military.
Yes.
However, an easy way for someone to end up being heroic is during a war, especially a war that's involving everyone, because there's really nobody that's not fighting in this one. You know?
Right.
So you get a lot more average people who had the capacity to be heroic and never knew about it and never sought it out, being put in a situation where they can become a hero, as opposed to peacetime, where generally it's just people who say, "No, I want to go do this,"
Right.
that end up, you know, being regarded as heroic. They weren't drafted and sent to, you know, or offered, you know, do this or die, which some people have that option during wartime, and they become heroic, yes, but it's not. They didn't really seek out to do it. It was thrust upon them, and they were forced into that situation.
Yes.
That they rose to the occasion. So, the times being a war, it's easier, relatively speaking, to be regarded as a hero just because there's more extraordinary stuff happening.
Yeah.
That was my thought there.
That's a good point, and I think throughout the rest of the Clone Wars show, we do see a lot of instances like that where there's
everyday people thrust into situations. Yeah, I would say especially on the the Ryloth arc, there's a lot of that because you got a lot of Twi'lek resistance fighters that, you know, would normally have just been regular folks.
Yes, and
as an example.
Similarly, I'm blanking on the name of Saw Gerrera's planet, but that.
Onderon.
Onderon, yes.
Onderon.
Yeah, that's a good point. With the times being such as they are, there's a lot more opportunities for people to be heroes. I like it.
Yeah, so, you know, also I really wanted to make some kind of joke about how his anaconda didn't want none unless you had buns, but I wasn't able to really work that into the conversation in a subtle way, so I'm just gonna say it. It's just, yeah.
Well, okay, no, we can make this work. Newt Gunray promised to bring food supplies such as buns, but then Anaconda don't want none because Newt Ray doesn't got buns on. There we go.
Yes,
we made it work.
We did it. It's a workshop that one, but yes, that's there you go.
I have just a couple of last notes. Palpatine slights Jar Jar, saying he's not qualified for peace talks, but this is after. In Episode 2, Jar Jar was already the one in the Senate to move for Palpatine's emergency powers.
That is true.
Because they did, him and Masamita did the little dramatic thing like, if only Senator Amidala were here. And they just...
Jar Jar's like, oh man, I got it. Yeah, they
not
just hinted
so subtly look at Jar Jar.
So it's like, I should probably say something. I'll say it's okay to have an army, sure.
Yeah.
He didn't... Oh man. Yep. Turns out Jar Jar's very qualified to do negotiations. Or maybe not, actually.
Then my last thing is that magnet lift, which crushed the ship, has a crazy amount of force behind it because it crushed the hull of that starship like it was nothing.
That I hadn't considered that, but you're right. That seems like, what do they normally use that for?
Right. Like, why would it have... It couldn't just be it was that heavy.
Right.
I don't think it would be that heavy. So they had to have, like, an extra motor that exerts force downward, and why would they need that? I think we just have to chalk this up to, it's a cartoon.
They don't really... There's not a lot of, like, industrial engineers on the panel of the Clone Wars animation staff letting them know how trains work.
Yeah.
Oh, well... You know, something we should probably deal with next time they make a show, because that isn't important.
And no starship engineers, you know, able to attest to the strength of Durasteel.
That is also true. We don't really... I'm sure there's some physicist out there somewhere that's done some kind of calculation about it.
If you've done such a calculation, put it in the comments below.
Yes, we are. We would like to know, actually. We're rather curious about that.
I just realized that we don't really ever do, like and subscribe stuff, so since I'm remembering it, if you appreciate the Delta Source podcast, like and subscribe.
Yeah, if you don't appreciate us, you can like and subscribe anyway, and then just like unsubscribe afterwards immediately, I guess. But, you know, help a brother out. Come on.
Well, this has been Delta Source podcast, your #1 source for the times such as they are. And until next time, may the Force be with you.